Good afternoon. My name is Karen Harding. I'm a criminal defence lawyer from New Zealand. I've got a master's degree in therapeutic jurisprudence, and I have been giving a seminar series today looking at how therapeutic jurisprudence and the rise of the problem-solving courts has really led to transformational change in the criminal justice system, and how criminal defence lawyers are able to build on that. And we've been now looking at aspects in relation to what we call integrated legal services, which is the holistic lawyer in action, servicing the whole client, not just their presenting legal problem, but the underlying issues under that legal problem, to help them in their engagement with the justice system, to deal with their legal problems and to prevent further reoffending and to enhance their well-being, which in turn enhances the well-being of the community that those people live in, because it reduces reoffending and increases the happiness of those people. And so now we're going to be looking at a chapter on public defenders as holistic service providers. Now this currently doesn't apply to any of the public defence service operating in New Zealand, and it's a model that has been used in some places in the United States. So the public defence system in the United States is just huge, and they deal with about more than 5 million cases a year. As the drug court movements expanded in the United States, the public defence officers began to recognise the role that treatment plays in obtaining better sentencing outcomes for improving a client's whole life. And we've been seeing this now in New Zealand, just within our own selves as criminal defence lawyers, just how much treatment really benefits the clients. And we've started to see this as soon as they set up the family violence courts in Auckland. We've got them operating in Auckland, Waitakere and the Manukau district courts, and it's just a shame they're not in every district court in the country. They're currently only in 7 district courts within New Zealand. And we see here that when we have clients coming in on family violence charges, that where they're admitting the offence, that the court is remanding that client off on bail to complete preventing violence programs. The victim's also engaging with services with the victim advisor and can be referred off to programs that enhance them to upskill in relation to their self-esteem and to get help and social services that they need. Doing the Preventing Violence program that we've seen with our clients here in the family violence courts in Auckland, Manukau and Waitakere, we've seen an enormous level of upskilling with these clients. They are better able to manage stress, better able to manage their anger, better able to recognise the triggers for anger and how to deal with that appropriately. And in those circumstances, it really is a revolution to the whole family, just not have to walk on eggshells all the time and not have to put up with beatings, verbal abuse and other things, and actually leads to a transformation in the household. And these services need to get into action earlier. And part of that process is being that where the clients engage in those programs and where the offending is on the lowest level, some of those people have been able to get discharged without conviction, or be convicted and discharged, or otherwise get supervision, and really only the serious offenders getting more serious punishments, and the recidivists, or those that won't engage in punishment, being sent to jail. And while you might think, well, why is that a good thing? Is because this is involving families, and a great majority of those families will want to stay together, and a great majority of those families have children. And what's really important here is that we want to reduce, stop, prevent intergenerational offending, because people learn from the behaviours of their elders. So what you teach at home as a parent goes down to your kids, and they don't just listen to what you say, they listen to what you do and how you behave and how that flicks on. So if you're going to be abusive to your wife, they'll be abusive to theirs, and it just stems down the line. If you don't respect your wife, their mother, they're not going to respect their mother either. And really, women deserve to be respected, and there needs to be no violence in the household. And it also is just got no dignity to a man to be assaulting his family and his children, and it's better that he engages to be a good man and a good father, a loving father, and he can have a good relationship with his children and a good happy life. And so what we've been doing in these family violence courts is re-educating the people towards appropriate ways to deal with the triggers and stresses that they have, and so they behave in appropriate, safe ways and enhance their family well-being. So just going back to the topic that we've been talking about, through these courts, which we call the therapeutic courts, and now we have operating under the pilot system we've had been going for the last 5 years, which is almost up in Auckland, and in Waitakere district courts, the drug court, which has been a program to address high needs drug and alcohol offenders, including serious recidivist drink drivers, as a process on treatment. So when they would otherwise go to prison and just be on that revolving door of prison and just go back in and out again, and really we've really achieved nothing. There's been an intensive process of a minimum of 18 months with that offender, with judicially monitored treatment where that person's coming to court every fortnight to see the judge, and during that fortnight they're in programs. They might be in residential treatment, they're on ongoing everyday programs with drug testing 3 days a week, and they might have monitoring devices on their leg to monitor drug and alcohol to make sure that they're not using. And it also involves their family, monitoring of their household, and involving them in AA programs, 12-step programs, and abstinence advice, so that they're leading an abstinent life of no drugs and no alcohol. And then getting an underlying, if they can't read, teaching the people to read, budgeting advice, if they've got problems at home, counselling services, if they've got psychological problems, going to psychological counselling. It's basically dealing with the whole person. And out of the drug courts, you see a total transformation of the client that went in as the man or the woman that comes out the other end, in terms of healing and becoming a productive member of society. At the point that they're allowed to leave drug court, they have to be fully engaged in employment or full-time engaged in education. So they've upskilled themselves, rehabilitated, safe, and been sober for a very, very long time, perhaps 18 months or 2 years at the point that they're discharged from the program. And so what we've seen in New Zealand is that those fruits of those courts, the family violence court and the drug court, is hugely successful and needs to be modelled in other things. And there's a whole range of other different problem-solving courts that have been available in the United States and other countries, such as in the UK and in Australia, that we haven't been using here in New Zealand. They really should be encouraged, and I would really hope, as an outcome of some of my work and in my future doctoral thesis, that maybe we might be able to get funding to set up more specialist problem-solving courts. But in the meantime, we want to embrace these theories of dealing with the client's underlying problems to help resolve the problems, and the idea is that the lawyer needs to be able to provide these holistic services. And one of the other ways is to encourage public defence services, which should be inclusive of the public defence service in New Zealand, to provide an organisation that can help achieve a therapeutic outcome, not just for the benefit of the client, but for their whole family and their community. So a holistic alluring approach, for example, was taken up by the Youth Advocacy Project in Juvenile Defender Unit in Massachusetts. This was a statewide public defence agency, and the director of that project observed that it was the privileged lawyer-client relationship that established trust between the public defender and the young person who was the client, along with their family, that made it possible to introduce to the client the idea that they could engage with counselling and that they could break the cycle of recidivism. Again, that involves talking about what we've discussed in these earlier seminar papers about having the sensitive conversations with your clients and finding out and screening with them the issues underlying it. Are there mental health? Are there personality disorders? Are there sexual abuse? Is there family violence at home? And remember, some people act up and they come out of households with family violence, sexual abuse. They can engage in all sorts of offending to self-medicate themselves by over-medicating on alcohol and over-medicating on drugs, or go and act up and do a whole lot of dangerous driving charges as a young person because they're really upset with what's going on at home with their parents. And so having those conversations with your lawyer is really important, and then the lawyer being able to actually ascertain what these underlying issues are and then direct that person to the appropriate counselling to stop that reoffending, and then also to get them the right outcome in court to avoid the stigma of punishment, so that they can be rehabilitated, try and avoid a criminal record if it's possible, and just mitigate the whole situation, and also to protect the public. So in that Youth Advocacy Project that we were talking about in Massachusetts, they were providing between 500 to 1,000 juvenile offenders every year with a holistic defence, and that worked out really well. They said that it cost the taxpayer considerably less money. It saved millions of dollars that would otherwise be spent over the offender's lifetime, simply by implementing the simplest of ideas fostered by holistic defence. So the Wisconsin State Defender's Office is also using a holistic approach to integrated services. This was on the process that they're trying to change the image of public defence, that they're not just trying to get clients off, but they were trying to improve the whole community. So another example of holistic defence providers in the United States was the Neighbourhood Defence Service of Harlem. So the Neighbourhood Defence Service of Harlem provides services to the residents of Upper Manhattan. It was one of the first integrated public defence service programs providing criminal, civil, family, immigration and civil services, and really brought into reality the theories of therapeutic jurisprudence by applying a holistic team defence model and assisting clients with collateral consequences. The heart of this expanded role is the aim of seeking to problem solve while still protecting clients' rights. I just find that this is really exciting and a really interesting model, and we really need to get this into New Zealand because it's the way to go with the integrated family, civil, family, immigration. And as we know, there's a lot of difficulties with some people accessing family legal aid because of the difficulty of getting those providers, the issue of the funding for it. So if you can bulk supply some of this funding and provide the integrated services and run it through with an integrated public defence service based on a holistic model that provides integrated services of the counselling, the referrals, with actual resources, not resources needs plenty of money, plenty of resources, plenty of people, plenty of ethic of care principles. It's very exciting because it actually provides us with a model to help improve communities and stop reoffending. So the Neighbourhood Defence Service of Harlem has a team of criminal and civil lawyers, paralegals, law and social work interns, investigators, social workers, administrators and pro bono lawyers. And they've broadened their role engaging in their community by providing comprehensive social service support, referrals for treatment, providing early intervention programs and community education programs. They provide comprehensive social work support for clients who struggle with substance abuse, homelessness and mental health problems. They offer intensive management, case management for youth offenders and their families. They teach conflict resolution skills to the community and educate, mentor and support formerly incarcerated fathers to try to build relationships with their families and children. Fantastic example. We're going to move on and have a look at some other examples. I just don't want to make this particular video too long, and we'll go back and we'll have another look at Knox County, Tennessee as a public service provider for the Public Defence Service using a holistic model. We'll have a look at the Rhode Island Public Defenders, and we'll have a look at some not-for-profit law models, which is just really fascinatingly interesting as to how they get their funding for that and how they're achieving holistic lawyering and reducing reoffending in community and delivering a fabulous legal service.